We continue on our Southern Illinois Miners virtual opening day from Rent One Park, talking with some of the Miners players from the past, and joining me from his home in Muncie, Indiana, Ball State Cardinals. My daughter graduated from Ball State, by the way. I don't know if you remember Caitlin. She worked at the ballpark. But Brad Miller joins us, and how you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome. Appreciate it. Again, with everything going on around us, things are a little different right now, but me and the family and everything's working out as well as expected.
I guess we'll just start, where you're at. Where's home? What are you up to nowadays?
Like I said, still living in Muncie, Indiana. So went to high school there, grew up there, went to college, found myself back there after the baseball career was done. And I've been fortunate enough to work at the local high school here in the area as a physical education teacher and strength and conditioning coordinator for the past 9 years.
Great. How's your teams doing? How they been?
Well, awesome. I'm fortunate enough to work with most of the student body, 9 through 12. I'm not bogged down to just one team per se. I get to work with all the athletes. I am trying to coach golf. Lo and behold, I did a little bit in basketball and baseball, assistant. Once I got two kids now that are starting to get into the baseball world and other sports, and it's taken a little bit more time. So golf is not to knock it, but it requires a little bit less time in the coaching world. So,
well, let's kind of flashback. Just kind of want to take you back to 2008 to 2010. You spent some time in Southern Illinois with Mike Pennell and the Southern Illinois Miners. Number one, drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays out of Ball State, 49th round, the 04 MLB amateur draft. What were your thoughts when you get drafted by Toronto coming out of college?
Well, that first year was kind of an experience where I was old enough because I was turned 21 by the time the season would have started. So most of the time, not too many get drafted. As for a sophomore year of college, I unfortunately had a very successful year that year. Went and played in the summer league, the Great Lakes League in Canton, Ohio, deciding whether or not I wanted to go ahead and sign with the Blue Jays or come back to Ball State. And after a lot of thinking, I decided that I wasn't quite ready to join the professional tour or professional leagues yet. So I came back to try to, we'll say, finish out my career, but let's just see where it takes it after that. And it worked out well. I'm surely glad that I made the decision I did at the time.
And then let's kind of flash ahead then a couple of years when you wind up getting a phone call from Mike Pennell, and he says, "Hey, come on down to Southern Illinois. Let's play some ball with the Miners."
Yeah. Again, another interesting situation. I was talking to, at the time, I had been playing with the Diamondbacks organization, and Mike Bell was the coach. We were actually on the road. I remember it exactly. He called me into the hotel room, sat me down, and said a unique situation had happened to where I was getting traded to a non-affiliated team, but he assured me that the organization was in good hands and a great place to go play and try to continue my career. And that was just the beginning, and he couldn't have been more right as far as that goes.
And then just a couple of days later, you find yourself walking into Rent-One Park in Marion. And I've been asking all the guys, what was your first thoughts when you stepped into the stadium that we have here?
Well, it was actually overwhelming. It was unbelievable. I had been playing in high A ball in California right before I was coming, and I actually drove from California all the way across the country back to Marion because I had my car out there. And there's some parks that we played in that were not even close to as nice as what Rent-One Park offers as far as clubhouse facilities and just the overall surrounding areas. And I was blown away by what I was walking into, and what turned to a situation where I was a little unsure right away. I knew that I was going to enjoy what I had coming in front of me.
Well, and you come to the minors, and you're there from '08 to '10. You played the full season 2009, a two-time All-Star. You played in 173 games with the minors. When I was looking through the stats, I was like, my gosh, that's a lot of ball games.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, and a few of those I had some minor injuries there, here and there, but I was fortunate to be on the field quite a bit. And one thing that people don't realize is the toll and tax that it takes to play in all those games in a short amount of time. But like I said, we had a great support staff with the trainers and conditioning staff, and everything we needed to make sure that we were taken care of, to make sure we were playing at our best, we had offered to us.
You made the most of the opportunity. You're still in the top 10 all-time minors in doubles, home runs, runs scored, RBIs, extra base hits, slugging percentage. And when I was going back and looking at some newspaper articles and things like that, the one thing that struck me is how at 6'5", everybody expected the power that you had, but they describe you as a nimble and agile first baseman. And
Wow.
it was kind of, and I was like, yeah, they're right, he was. But let's talk about your time playing with the minors, and you mentioned the talent that you got to play with, but you put up some incredible numbers.
Yeah, and one of the things that I still have been striving to tell everybody that I talk to when I kind of reminisce is that there are a lot of really good baseball players and athletes that play independent ball that might not have gotten the right opportunity in professional, or just hadn't got seen by someone. But there is no shame into playing independent ball in a lot of those leagues. And like I said, I've seen some good baseball players in that league that definitely probably deserve to be on some affiliation roster, whether it's just not the right fit or whatnot. But that was one of the things that I kind of had a misconception when I first thought about it. And after being and experiencing that, it is some great baseball, especially in that Frontier League and with the minors organization. Exactly.
And especially with Mike Pino and the minors, I mean, it seems like every year key players that have helped drive the success for a season wind up going off and getting the call to the minor leagues, and then look at guys like Tanner Rourke and Clay Zavada and others that have gone on to play in the majors, and they made that trip through Marion.
Yeah, and like I said, for some it may just be a pit stop or a stepping stone. For others, it may be the tip of the iceberg for them. But no matter which one it is, it's an incredible opportunity to play at what we'll call the next level, and to experience everything that I did or what anybody's going to. It's something that it might have been taken for granted back then, but now as I look back, it was an incredible experience.
Let's talk about the relationship that you had with Mike Pino, and the manager, now the COO of the minors, and maybe some of the things that you learned from Mike in your time with the minors that have carried over with you into your career as a teacher and a coach.
Sure. One of the things I got right off the bat was just how personable he was, but at the same time had a meant for business type attitude, to where he let you know what needed to be done, and his expectation levels was at a high. And with that understanding of that, you knew what you were expected to do on and off the field. I know we had a really big community base, and the things that we did outside the fence in the clubhouse was just as big. So it really makes me appreciate that whole involvement, and I've kind of taken that to my teaching and coaching times, as far as developing a rapport with my students, developing a rapport and relationship with my players, and kind of letting them know that I'm here for you. I'm here to make it as good an experience as possible. At the same time, let them know this is what is needing to be done, and there's a line drawn as far as what is acceptable and what is not. And I've had a very good reciprocal back from them as well. So I've taken kind of that as far as the leadership role, whether I'm the coach or the teacher. But the students have a great rapport with myself, and I attribute that to some of the experience that I've had with my coaches, and especially Mike being one of them.
One of the questions I'm making a point to ask everybody too. You have Mike Pino, that is the bedrock of this foundation, and standing right there next to him are others, but Ralph Santana continues to stand alone. And I guess the question I want to ask you, have you got a Ralph Santana story that you can actually share with us on what it was like in playing for Ralph as one of your coaches?
He was one that never was shy of his own accolades or what he had done in the past, which I believe at the time then he had just very recently stopped playing. So he was still in very good, probably playable shape and talent. But I remember taking some ground balls, and I had mixed up playing a little bit of third if needed, because we had a pretty solid corner as it was. So I said, well, I played third base a little bit. Let me, if I need, I can play that. So I went over there a little bit, and he was giving me some tips on how to field the ball and everything. And I think he was a little bit out of my league on the fielding concepts. But he used to tell me that he'd probably steal first base if he could. I know that they were talking about adding that rule into the minor league system here shortly. So he may be coming out of retirement and testing that theory out. But that was one of the things he was very keen about, was his ability to read the pitchers and read the situations. And I do remember joking with him. I said, Ralph, I think you could steal first base if they let you, bud. He just joked with me. But he was one of those that had a great rapport with myself and most of the players. So it made it easy to talk to and transition with any questions that we may have had as far as concerns with what was going on the field.
Well, coming up on Friday night, with what the nation's facing in the COVID-19 virus, it's changed things for the Frontier League and how when the season's going to be able to start. But with Friday night being on the schedule as the opening night, and the Miners have put together a virtual baseball game. It's going to feature the Frontier League All-Stars against the Southern Illinois Miners Dream Team. Of course, you were a two-time All-Star, part of the All-Decade team with the Miners. What's your thoughts in being able to tune in on Friday night and see yourself in a virtual baseball game on the web?
Yeah, like I said, it's very interesting. I haven't been involved in baseball as far as playing since I played last there in the Frontier League. So it's going to be interesting to see, kind of get back on the field and see a different perspective. I've been in the coaching, bird's eye view for the last probably 6 or 7 years with high school and now my two sons. But it's just going to be neat to kind of get back and relive those days, even though it's going to be virtually, but just kind of see and go through play by play of what's going on, and actually getting on the field with some of the other great teammates that I was able to play with or against. And it's just going to be an overall experience that can't wait to see.
Well, I guess before we wrap things up here, Brad Miller joining us here on our virtual opening day. What would you like to say to the fans of Southern Illinois about some of the lessons that you learned and what you take away from the time that you spent here in Marion?
Well, as I mentioned before, I feel like that was one of the strengths and foundations of the Miners, and how community-based they were, and how strong of a backing they had. And I just remember, not having a super close relationship, but every day coming out of the tunnel or the outfield, running down or back in and getting to, shake hands with the fans, interacting a little bit, whether it was, sign a ball, say hi to a kid or a family, and just make them a part of the game as much as we could. And I hope that continues at some point. But I just remember how just being able to be very personable with everyone, and including the host families that I was able to stay with. They made everything awesome. And I know there was a lot of others that did, other players exceptionally well. So I hope that continues to go, but there's not enough that I can say as far as the support that is given in Marion and the surrounding areas for the Miners. So it's awesome.
Well, Brad Miller, it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to catch up with you a few minutes, and can't wait to see what you do in the game coming up Friday night, and hear the roar of the crowd virtually on the game. And just want to say thank you for spending a few minutes with us, and good luck coaching and in your future endeavors. And as always, go Miners.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time, Dave, and can't wait to see it next Friday.
All right, bud. Brad Miller joining us here on our Miners virtual opening day from Rent One Park.
Again, hello, Miners fans, and welcome to our continuing coverage of Miners virtual opening day here on Facebook Live. Jason Garrett joined by another of the Miners all-time team, postseason all-star second baseman from 2009, a two-year all-star, in fact, in midseason for your Southern Illinois Miners in the middle infield. Tony Roth joins us here on Miners virtual opening day. Tony, how are you doing?
I'm very good. Appreciate you having me.
Now, we're going to take you kind of back to the beginning of your Miners career. You signed with the Miners in 2008, and before that you had been with the Yankees, Rangers, and 10 games with Evansville in 2007. So what were the circumstances initially that brought you to Southern Illinois and Rent One Park?
Kind of leaving Creighton and having the opportunity to go play professional baseball, and getting to travel around and meet a lot of different kinds of people and live in a lot of different places. Kind of made it to Evansville for the end of that 2007 season. And our last series of the year was against the Miners and Mike Pinto and Bart Zeller. So, kind of, they might have heard about who I was or, what I had going on, and I got to meet them and kind of stayed in touch over the off season, and really was, Southern Illinois, and gotten to visit Rent One the end of that 2007 season. Was just a place that this is awesome. I mean, the stadium's beautiful. The people were so great. And those two guys, ran a pretty good program. So I was definitely kind of itching to be able to find my way into a Miners uniform. So they made it happen, and kind of had a little late trade with Evansville that off season, and kind of got what we all wanted. So I was very, very, very fortunate.
You joined the Miners in their second year of existence, and boy, was it a time to play for the Miners back in 2008 and 2009. Some of your teammates on the all-time team in the virtual game later tonight were some of the greatest players in Miners history, talking Ryan Bird, Joey Metropolis, Tim Dorn, Jeremy Millens, just to name a few. What were those years like for you getting to play alongside those guys?
It was awesome. I had crossed paths with Joey Metropolis when we were in college at a tournament, and played against him again in spring training when I was with the Yankees. And I think that was in 2006 when he was with the Blue Jays. And, another name, I look forward to playing with Mike Scanzano. Scans was a, shortstop and a staple, and to be able to kind of step in and play second base when, Ralphie was there the first year when he joins the staff. So good people to be around, and getting to meet Millie and later that year when, Brad Miller comes along, and is just a great group of guys to be around. Super fun. Obviously got a show every day watching Metro and Dorn, take BP, and, playing behind the Birdman and, watching him carve guys up. It was awesome. And we had a great group. And one thing that really stands out to me still was college baseball, very team oriented, kind of get into pro ball and affiliated baseball. And it's kind of more of an individual game, you're out to get yours. And the wins and losses sometimes, don't matter to some organizations and some of those people. It's more about the development and, kind of just getting your reps in. So coming to Marion, I mean, that was such a breath of fresh air, kind of getting back to that team environment where everybody was kind of about each other. And that's kind of what made that group special. We probably, didn't do as much as we all wanted to, or probably were capable of on the field as a team. But man, people were always there for each other. And that was one thing that, remembering those guys, how much, great teammates they were, and just how much fun they were to be around, and coming to the ballpark every day. It was awesome.
Well, you did help lead the Miners to their first playoff appearance as a franchise in 2008, kind of kick-starting the legacy there. You mentioned Mike Scanzano, your double play partner in 2008. That must have been a heck of a double play combination. I personally did not see that live, obviously, but what was that like, being able to turn two with a fellow all-star middle infielder?
So Scans, I come in and I don't know my way around, Marion yet. And I just moved into my host family's house. And he kind of, knew who I was. I knew who he was. And we kind of just took it to each other right away. I mean, he became my catch partner. We're in the same BP group, got to spend a lot of time together. So he, really helped facilitate like my transition over there. And we just had to get to know each other. I mean, if you're going to play somebody, play with somebody up the middle, you better be friends and know a lot about each other, because you got to know some tendencies and kind of where he wants the ball when I'm giving it to him, and kind of when I want it when he's giving it to me. So he was, super important to my transition there. And I'm, happy to call him a friend still.
We transitioned to 2009, which was, as it turns out, your last year playing professionally, but it was also your best season. Played 84 games and kind of put it all together. One of still the most well-rounded seasons in Miners history. Hit 302, 23 doubles, 93 hits, 65 runs, and 41 RBIs, earning yourself the postseason All-Star nod in the Frontier League. What was that year like for you, putting it all together? Really looking at the breadth of your career, that was obviously your finest season.
Yeah, and it was awesome. I mean, the year before, kind of struggled with a little some back stuff, and it was kind of nice to come back strong and full strength. And that was also a year when we had lost some guys from the year before. So definitely an opportunity to step up and take on more of a leadership role, as it was my second year in Marion, and my comfort level was off the charts, and playing around one, beautiful. It was an awesome place to play. One of the best places I've ever gotten to call a home field in all of my baseball career. So from my host family, the Lewises, welcoming me back, and the guys on the team, and again, Mike did a fantastic job of bringing in just another good group of just people. So and having Mr. Pinto around and putting trust in me, and kind of hoping to bring the best out of me, and is just from the support staff to Tim Arsenault when he was around. It was just, you couldn't be happier. So I mean, that really helped bring the best out of me, and just, I had confidence, and I was just extremely comfortable.
You've obviously kept in touch with a lot of your former teammates over the years, but you came back to Rent One Park in 2016 as a member of the All-Decade team for that tremendous celebration. Getting to reunite in person with your old teammates. What was that experience like for you?
Getting to see those guys, you get to communicate with them, and it seems like you stay in touch even more just with social media these days, and kind of getting to keep tabs on people and seeing what they're doing. But man, just going to check in upstairs in the suite area, and just getting to see everybody and talking and laughing, and it was so much fun. And then that night, getting to have some food and have some drinks, and watch the team play after some of the on-field festivities. Seeing the guys was great. Another thing, like, they kind of had us down in the concourse area, signing some autographs before the game, and just what people remember, and the stories that they bring up to you, and the things that they say to you, and how much maybe you meant to them, or how excited they were to come watch you play, and who was their favorite players, and some of their favorite moments. And we can share moments that we all remember, but you don't remember them all. So it's so cool when other people bring things up, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I forgot about that, or I didn't remember that. It truly made Marion a very, very, very special place, a tight-knit community, and the support of Rent One was fantastic from all the fans.
What are some of the experiences that stick out in your mind that you remember from those years that the fans were reminding you of?
I mean, even just first home game, I mean, I ever played there, and just looking into the attendance that they had the year before, and the attendance and how the people turned out, and just some of the different on-field festivities and activities they did. And they really made it just a fun night out for fans and people to come, to those games. And kind of baseball was, the icing on the cake for them to be able to watch. And, one of the funniest things is Ralphie started calling me Sunshine because the hair might have been a little long and it gets light in the sun. So that was, I mean, always something that I'll remember. And being able to have my parents down, and my host family had some younger children, and getting to see them at games and have people really look up to you, and it just makes you take on that role of some responsibility and some leadership to show them the right way to go about just living life, but also playing the game of baseball.
Well, you mentioned Ralph razzing you a little bit there. I do have to ask, when you were back in Marion for the All-Decade celebration, how much razzing did you get for what I think is one of the best tan lines I think I've ever seen? You had an outrageous kind of hat tan going across the forehead there.
Since I've been back in Omaha and done playing ball, I was always just looking for something to do. So it wasn't softball with my buddies, and I started playing golf. So it's kind of, the backwards hat was always in play, and it really, really, really made for a pretty interesting tan. So I'm still out and still hitting the sticks in Omaha here, and it's I mean, some things just never change.
Maybe some sunscreen next time.
You
retired after 2009, as you mentioned, and you're still in Omaha. What have you been doing since you stopped playing?
So, it kind of, my career ended with Southern Illinois. I had a little shoulder injury. So I kind of spent that off season doing some rehab and, trying to get healthy enough to, possibly come back and play again. And it didn't work out. I was just, I wouldn't have held up. And so, going from there, and, what do I do now? I mean, I've always played baseball, and if I wasn't in school, I was playing summer ball and then playing professionally, and kind of have my off season revolve around that. So got into a couple little business ventures, started a little business, and can, like I said, continue to play golf. And recently, kind of now, we've bought a barn, a grill here in Omaha, Nebraska. So I, spend a lot of my time here. We've been here for about a year, a little over a year, almost a year and a half. So that occupies a lot of time. Have a big staff underneath me, but the thing that I kind of preach to them, and kind of the mentality I take to this place, and having a lot of people underneath me, and kind of getting them to believe in what we're doing, is just going back to lessons I learned in baseball, and taking some of the leadership stuff that I learned from coaches, teammates, and have developed on my own over the time of just being around a bunch of guys playing a game. I always go back to baseball and the team environment, I think, into something that I've always just thought can bring the best out of somebody, and just to show you the love and support, and then kind of let you go out and perform. So that's kind of what I've been up to, and that's about it.
Are you excited to see yourself later tonight in virtual form, in digital form, play with some of your old teammates again?
No doubt. And, I'm going to stream it down here at the bar. We're going to, kind of have a little night with, the lack of sports on TVs kind of driving, everybody crazy, including myself. So I'm going to stream it down here on our big screen. And I'm just hoping that I, come out with some sort of performance. So, I don't get too much beef down here from them, but I'm excited. Always cool, to play the sports games, and, growing up, making yourself obviously the best player on the team. Right. With 99 overall everything. So hopefully I get some good rankings on there, and I can come out and do something.
Tony, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us here on Miners Virtual Opening Day. Enjoy watching yourself play some baseball later tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having, including me in this. So, good job, and kudos to you guys. A lot of hard work goes into this. So thank you very much.
Dave McKenzie, as we continue with our Miners Virtual Opening Day with your Southern Illinois Miners. And I don't know that I've ever said this, live from Oliver Springs, Tennessee. Miners third baseman, shortstop, played second, did a little bit of everything, but primarily at third base. Nate Hall joins us from Oliver Springs, Tennessee. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
We are glad to have you. And we were kind of talking before we got recording about what's going on coming up with opening day, the virtual opening day with the Miners, and thought we'd spend a few minutes and just kind of talk to you about your time with the Miners, coming to the Miners, what you've been up to here lately, and kind of roll from there.
Yeah. I have nothing bad to say at all about my time with the Miners. Every bit of it was first class, and that's that's kind of the thing that, like, the standard that's like Mike has set over the time, and he's really made it an organization. Just to, if you play for him, you're proud to play for him. And it was a great 2 years. I wish it could have been longer, but life kind of got in the way for me there. But
Well, and it's hard to believe it's been, well, actually, I guess 9 years since you last played for the Miners. But let's kind of go back to when you came to the Miners. You had played at Windy City. It's been a couple of years there. Then you get traded to the Miners. Let's talk about that. When you came to the Miners, it was like right before opening day.
yeah, that's kind of a crazy story. So it was 3 days before the season started, and I got a call, saying, hey, you got traded, and I was like, oh, like great, like where am I going to go? And when I heard this, said, you've been traded to Southern Illinois, like, I was like, all right. That's just a great place to play. Everybody knows it's just first class. And I think I was out the door before I hung up the phone. And and Mike called me. He was like, hey, it's Mike. He's kind of introducing himself, and he's like, so when you gonna be here? And I was like, well, I'm on the interstate right now, so I'll see you in a couple hours.
Because you were at Windy City.
Yeah.
When you got traded, you roll in here like a day before opening day. And you had played at Rent One with Windy City a couple of times, so you already knew a little bit about what you were getting into. But what was something that surprised you coming from another Frontier League team to Mike Pino's Southern Illinois Miners and Rent One?
The stadium, for one, the playing surfaces, the fans, just the size of it, like it's just top notch. The way that they treat the players, like you're never in need of anything. Like it's like I said before, it's top notch, and you'd have to play there to, I guess you could go there and see it, but when you play there, like you really are treated well. And just the other thing that I don't know if I can slide this in there, but they put you with great host families, and that was one of the big keys that I think for my success there is I had like an awesome host family: John and Melissa, Zach, Gavin, and Kylie Plant. I hope they get to see this because I want to tell them hi.
Yeah.
But I still talk to them to this day. Yeah. And just absolutely everything that you could imagine was handed out there ready for you to go, so I could step on that field and just be ready.
Well, let's kind of talk a little bit about being with the Plants and the host family. How did they provide for you?
It was just like when I walked through that door. It was actually at night, that night I got there, and I went through all the, you had to do the green screens for your on, like when you're coming up to bat and all that stuff. And I got there like 10 o'clock at night, and when I got to the house, they just made it like I was already a part of the family. I've never met these people, never talked to them, and I stepped in, and they're just like, hey, what do you need? Just like the Miners did. I mean, there's just great people out there in Southern Illinois. It's a really great organization.
That's awesome. You became one of the go-to guys in the middle of a game. You were I was looking through stats. You're in the top 10 in games played. It was almost, and in 2016, it was like you took the ball in the field, and it was just, your stats are outstanding. 181 games played, 20 home runs. You still are triples batting average, hit 318 back in 2010. It was, you just had and your defense is just solid. And you kind of fit in with a long line of outstanding third basemen with the Miners.
Yeah, there's been some good ones played there.
You know, it started with Chris Hall, the opening
yeah.
season, and just right on down the line. Talk a little bit about what it's like in the locker room with the Miners while you were here.
Well, one thing about, you mentioned that all those games I played. The thing about that, there's a sign in the training room that says something about being an Iron Man and playing all 96 games, and I took that as a challenge, and that was one of the reasons I played all those games. I always went in there and always saw that sign, you know. But that just made me remember that. But you know, the locker room atmosphere is always great, and you know, I think it starts with the coaching staffs they put together. If we had exceptional coaching staffs, we kept it loose, you know, and when you're comfortable and coming to the park ready to play every single day, because people don't really get it if playing every single day like that, it really wears on your mind. But Mike and Ralph and, you know, everybody with the coaching staff, they can keep an atmosphere where you know, you can still excel at that. It's really hard to do. You'd have to do it to kind of understand it, but the guys that they bring in, and we kind of become like a family. It was just great, you know.
What was harder for you? The mental side of playing every day? You don't typically only have a Monday off. Yeah. Is it the mental side or is it the physical side?
That's a really tough question. I can't say either one. I mean, your body does kind of get used to it after a while, but everybody knows, like, the mental side of baseball, like how absolutely grueling it is. You know, when you're sitting there and, you know, you're 0 for your last 10 and you got to go to the plate, the game's on the line, and you're just like, oh man, I haven't got a hit in 10 at bats, and now my team really needs me. You know, there's a lot you got to overcome, but that's the great thing about the game of baseball. Like, you put yourself through those scenarios, and you know, it's not just baseball, it's life.
Yeah,
that stuff happens in life. So
it's going to work.
Yeah, it's a job. Yeah.
So that 2010 team, let's talk about them. Still a Frontier League record, 20-game winning streak that season. It's outstanding. I can remember the excitement, you know, when it builds, and it's awesome when you're riding a 4 or 5-game winning streak, but then it goes to 9 and 10, and then it goes to 14 and 15, and then it just keeps going, and it winds up being a 20-game streak. I can't imagine what that was like in that clubhouse, you know, after every game, when you walk back in there and get ready for your post-game meal.
Well, it was kind of like routine. Like we got in such a routine, like, you know, we would show up to the park, we'd put our uniforms on, and we're like, okay, you know, it's 7:00. It's time to go just whip that team's butt. Like it just got to that, like nobody was going to stop us. Our pitching and our defense and our bats like clicked all at once. And, you know, that's a rare thing. You know, usually, you know, your hitting will be there, but, you know, your pitching will be off, or vice versa or whatever. But
yeah,
those 20 games were just so much fun because we just went and just absolutely demolished people.
Yeah. You feel invincible.
Yeah. And that's actually the second 20-game streak I've been a part of. I was a part of a 21-game streak in college.
Really? I was going to ask you if you'd been around anything like that.
Yeah, we hit 21 in college, and you know, it was the same way. Yeah. It's really fun. You know, baseball is fun, but when you win, it's just just way better.
You bring up the coaching staff, and of course it all starts at the top with Mike, and I love the phrase protect the pickaxe. That's kind of his motto and things like that. But the one thing I've been asking guys I've been talking to, everybody has a Ralph Santana story.
You know,
What's your Ralphie story? Anything?
Oh my gosh. Oh, you really put me on the spot.
There's a lot. I know.
I got one.
Okay.
So I was coming off an injury, and like usually when you come off an injury, you know, you'll be out for like a week, and so you got to go back and like you got to get your timing back. So you'll go down there when the pitchers are like throwing bullpens like before a game starts, and you know you're having a bat off of them, you know, before you go into the real game. And, you know, the coaches will be down there kind of like helping you and stuff like that. You know, Ralph always helped with hitting. And there was a couple of us actually doing it. And, you know, we had some guys throwing some pins down there, and they were striking us out. And, you know, I don't know, for people that know Ralph thinks he can step in a batter's box at any given time. I don't care how old he is, like whatever shape he's in. He thinks he can step in a batter's box and get a hit off anybody. And that, you know, that's a really good quality. That's what made him such a good player. He was so confident. So, you know, he was kind of starting to chirp at us a little bit, like, you know,
his chirping's pretty good. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, we just said, you know what? Let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see it go up there. And he stepped in there, had 3 at bats, and got 3 hits. And I don't even know the last time he even held a pitcher, but yeah, that's him. That's just how he was. But he'll run his mouth, but he backed it up.
You came out also, you know, you were a 2-time All-Star in the league. You were selected to the 5th anniversary team back in 2011. Then the All-Decade team 2016. Talk about that and the relationship that you had with the fans while you were in Marion.
That was a big honor for me. I really appreciated that. And the fan part of it, I always thought was great. I always felt like I had a relationship with them, and I think it's just the way the organization does it. Like they make you accessible to the fans, and the fans, you know, are accessible to you, and it kind of makes a friendship like that. Like, you know, I can remember playing third base, and there was always people that sat on the third base side, and you know, they would always say hey to me, like whenever I went out there, and like you know, their kid, like I throw them a ball or something. It was just a really good experience with that, and it was different from the other places I played. You know, you really felt like you were playing at home. You know what I mean? And the All-Decade thing, that was an awesome weekend. Getting to see all my old teammates and getting to see everybody. I'd really like to get back out there again, and you know, I try to stop by whenever I can. I actually stopped by this past year, but it was about 30 degrees and nobody was there. I was hoping I could catch
well, if we get things going, we'd love to have you. You know, we said that you're living in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. You stayed in baseball, but more as a trainer and a mentor to kids, and kind of talk about that, about how you wound up having your own academy.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I was still under contract to play at Southern for you know, another season, I guess that would be the 2012 season,
Right.
the championship season.
Yes.
And you see, there's a wedding ring, but there's no. So yeah, that was one of the toughest decisions of my life. So during the off season, I had one little kid, come up and ask me, like, will you teach me how to hit? Long story short, like in 3 months, that turned into like 50 to 60 lessons a week. And I was realized I was starting to build a business. So I had to make the decision, are you going to go for this business, or are you going to, continue your dream to keep playing baseball? Me and Mike discussed it over like for days. And I decided to go with this, and it was a really tough decision. Lost a lot of sleep over it because I played baseball since I was like 4,
Right.
Every day.
Right.
But it actually turned out, to be a really good decision. I've been running my own baseball facility and doing hitting lessons, and we have teams that play travel baseball and stuff like that. And but the kind of the irony of it was the year that I quit is the year they won the championship.
Right.
So,
Right. So you're not coaching teams now, but you did for a while, and
Yeah.
I understand that you brought a 7-year-old team to Rent One Park one time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was just the coolest day ever. So I just called up Mike, and I was like, we had a travel ball tournament close to there, and I said it would be the coolest thing if I could just bring my my team and let them see the clubhouse, and maybe get on the field, and which Mike's an extravagant guy, so he's going to go above and beyond. So he let us practice. He let us take BP with a team. He took us on the boys on a tour of the whole stadium. Let them run out on the field. Got autographs. Like they still talk about that. I still teach a lot of those guys, and they still talk about that weekend.
So you get in the batting cage during team batting practice. How long did it take before you got the home run?
Okay, well, here's the thing. The thing I didn't tell anybody. Like, I knew that was probably going to happen. So, out of my facility, I was taking a few swings before we made that trip out there. And I do remember the first pitch that I can't remember the guy that was throwing me BP, but I was like, wow, that's fast. Like, I've been messing around with these 7-8-year-olds during batting practice and stuff and throwing slow, and this guy's. But I don't know. I caught one good, and I think I took it over the, left center field wall. I wanted a splash zone. That's always been my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That would have been cool. I wish I would have been there for that. But I guess, I just wanted to give you an opportunity, if you could, the fans are going to see this, it's going to be online. And if you could say something to the fans of Southern Illinois Miners baseball, what would it be?
Obviously just, thank you for, just the support of the team, and, continue supporting the team, because it means a lot to the players when you run out on the field, and, there's a lot of fans there cheering for you. It makes it awesome. And, for my time spent there, I made a lot of friends, and I hope they're all doing well. I want to, say hi to them, and also thanks to them. And just when it opens back up, get out to the ballpark. It'll be good for everybody. Go out and cheer those players on, and get to know them and say hi to them, and go out there and have a good time. We need to get over this. What's going on right now? We need to get baseball back into the swing of things. Absolutely.
So Friday night, you're going to be in a video game, an actual video game. What's your thoughts about that?
This is like, All right, this is my only thought. I hope I don't strike out in the video. Because if they're gonna make it realistic, I might strike out.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be very cool to see, you know, and got to give credit to Jake and John who put that together and customized it, the players. It's really going to be cool, and hope you get an opportunity to watch it yourself.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna watch it, and I've mentioned it to some of my friends, and they want me to come over and they want to put it on their TV and have them watch it. That's why I don't want to strike out. I have to sit there and then make fun of me.
That's all right. Well, Nate Hall, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us here, and continued success to your baseball academy, and stay in touch and make sure you get up to Rent One Park whenever you get a chance.
Oh, I'll definitely come up there. Thanks for having me. And I want to all my teammates and stuff that hope if they get to see this, I'm going to tell them hey, and I hope they're all doing good, and all the old coaches there, and everybody that works at the stadium. I hope everybody's doing good, and let's get some baseball going.
Absolutely. That's nothing better to say than that right there.
Hey, Miners fans, here's a reminder for you that Marion High School will be sponsoring a blood drive from the American Red Cross. It's going to take place coming up on Thursday, May 21st. Now, it's for Marion High School, but it's going to be held at the Diamond Club at Rent One Park, and it's going to start at noon and run until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You would be good if you were to set up an appointment in advance. You can call 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's 1-800-RED-CROSS. Give the gift of life. Don't forget, it's an American Red Cross blood drive sponsored by Marion High School. That's coming up on Thursday, May 21st from noon until 5 at the Diamond Club here at Rent One Park.